I was a teacher today. Welcome to the SEC.
You're watching Inside SEC Basketball Live with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Inside SEC Basketball Live. Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis here to talk all things SEC hoops with you this evening. Make sure you get your comments, your questions, your hot takes in the chat as always, and appreciate everybody for hanging out with us tonight. I see the chat's already popping a little bit, so I like that. That's a good thing. The season's almost over. I mean, we got just 2 weeks of regular season basketball left before the SEC tournament in Nashville. That's crazy that it's moving as fast as it is. It's whatever. I'm not going to get too sad about it. I'm just going to look forward to what's ahead. 4 games to go for everybody before this regular season wraps up. A lot still on the table to be decided, but it does feel like we're starting to see some cliques forming in this league, some actual tiers now that we've been doing this for a couple months. But we're going to talk about it all. We got some fun segments lined up for you guys. But first, Andrew, how you doing this evening, my friend?
I'm doing tremendous. I was just thinking about it. I was trying to figure it out while you were talking there. How many shows of this do we have left? Like 3?
So let's see. We'll have the regular season finale next week. We'll have the SEC tournament preview episode. Yeah. That's going to be a fun one. And then probably the post-selection show. And then after that,
so I guess that Monday before the NCAA tournament starts, we'll do a show to just kind of be like, hey, here's where all the SEC teams are going to be. But by that point, we're not talking about standings of the SEC. We're talking about will these teams live or die, sink or swim, and that's going to be very exciting. We'll also, we were talking about it right before the show gets going, we also won't have to talk about half the league once the NCAA tournament starts, because the way it's looking, man, there's some bubble teams that suck, and there's some teams right below the bubble that are really not very good, but it's been making this fun because those teams keep making noise, and so you keep having embarrassing losses for some of these other SEC teams, but I'm excited for this week.
Yeah, it depends on how well, I guess, the SEC teams do once we get to March Madness, too, and in terms of what we do from this standpoint. If Arkansas is the only team through, we'll just be doing Pot at the Palace episodes, man. The rest of the league's got to hold up their end of the bargain a little bit. But, yeah, we're getting ready to separate the haves and the have-nots, and there are definitely more knots in this conference than there were last year. But we'll get into our power rankings here in just a second. I kind of like doing that first in the show last week, so maybe we'll stick with that. But the more I look at how this is shaking out, Andrew, the more it actually looks kind of like I thought it would coming into the year. There seems to be like a line drawn in the sand right now after Florida, Bama, Tennessee, Arkansas, like that top 4 group that's, secured for those double buys right now. Lots of other quality teams in the conference, but it feels like those 4 who are at the top of the pecking order started at the top of the pecking order for most people coming into the season. I guess the exception or the surprise or the disappointment, whatever you want to call it, would be Kentucky. I feel like that was the other team that was kind of lumped into that top group there, and they have fallen off here. But outside of that, it's kind of shaking out the way people thought it would.
Yeah, outside of, I guess, A&M being like just where they're at in this whole pecking order, they're starting to come back down to earth and maybe end up closer to where we thought they might. But that's kind of been a huge surprise to me. And I think Vanderbilt, I guess, not that we thought they were bad. And by the time SEC play started, they were undefeated. We had realized Vanderbilt was going to be at least pretty good. But yeah, I mean, even going back to 6-7 months ago, like there hasn't been a ton in the SEC that's completely taken me by storm and really taken me back. Nothing real stunning. A lot of the usual suspects are starting to rise to the top. The cream's starting to rise a little bit. Some of the teams that we kind of frankly thought might be mid turned out to be pretty mid. And so teams are starting to kind of show you who they are. And for some of those teams, that's going to be good enough to get you in the dance, but not necessarily good enough to where we really buy you as a real contender that can make a deep run. Yeah, there's like almost zero controversy at this stage of SEC play because all the frauds have already kind of exposed themselves. Now it's just a matter of, are those teams in the middle? Are you finishing 3rd or are you finishing 8th? Are you finishing 2nd or are you finishing 6th? And there's a lot of that going around. And so it's going to be cool to watch these teams kind of fight for the pecking order within their separate packs. But everyone kind of knows what the situation is for their teams this time of year. There's not real much debate in terms of where these teams rank in our power rankings, but there's some little rankings to be had within those little sects.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I know we got some differences in every one of those tiers. Before we pull up our power rankings, we were talking about those kind of the top 4 teams that you feel like have separated themselves a little bit. Texas A&M would be the team that could have a say in the matter. Other teams could get in it. Everybody else is 2 games back with 4 to play, so it's going to be difficult to get back in there. Texas A&M 1 game back of that group. But outside of that top 4, who is a team that stands out to you if you're thinking this is a team that could go win it in Nashville, or this is a team that we could look up and could be second weekend beyond once we get to the NCAA tournament, even if they don't have the most favorable seed in the world?
So Georgia is coming off of a really productive week, probably a week that I would say solidified Georgia as we no longer have to do the thing about, are they even going to make the tournament? Georgia's going to make the tournament. It was a very productive in a week for them. I don't know if I necessarily buy them as making a deep run in March, but I think they have the pieces that are a little bit better than maybe their conference record indicates. Plus, they're just older. They've kind of had some guys that have been through this process before. So they're certainly one that intrigues me, especially with the way that they seem to be almost trending in the right direction as we get closer to March. Auburn is the team, though, that kind of jumps out as the wild card that I think Auburn could. I mean, they literally lost to Mississippi State this very week, but they also pull off a win against Kentucky, and we know that they have as much talent as anybody, and now it seems like Keyshawn Hall's just back in the fold. Auburn's the type of team that any given night you feel like could beat anyone. So there may be a team that could make some noise in Nashville, and frankly, not saying they'll need it. They're not going to go into they're needing 2 or 3 wins or anything, but they could use all the help they can get because I think their resume is still a little bit interesting, though the metrics do seem to like them.
Yeah, for sure. Georgia is definitely an interesting one to me. When you got a shot blocker like Surreal, you got those guards that can get hot and fill it up. That's always going to be a dangerous team. Yeah, I don't know beyond that. Maybe Texas A&M. I want to see them in person Wednesday because that's like one of the only teams at this point that we haven't seen in person. So I want to be able to check them out. Texas, maybe. I mean, they've got the big guy. They've got Swain. Yeah, they're a weird team. All of them are a little bit bipolar. Like I could see them, all of these teams beating somebody that they're not supposed to, but then, and we feel this way when we talk about Arkansas every day, but I could also see them getting popped early, but like who has the staying power to stick around for a little while? I don't know. Maybe Vanderbilt, although I wasn't that impressed with them when we saw them live. It's probably the worst game that they played all year. So I don't know. We'll have to see, but let's pull up these power rankings here and talk about them. And it's, again, for me, there are groups, right? And so I think Florida, they belong at the top, right? I mean, that's exactly where they're supposed to be. So we have them at number 1. They're 2 games clear of everybody else. I think both of us here, we see Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee as that next group, which makes sense. And we have different orders there. And I'm going to be honest with you, throughout the day today, I've felt like I should have had Tennessee at 2 the whole day. After I already set the graphic and I was like, you know what, we're just going to roll with it. The further along we get, and I was doing some other stuff for Pot the Palace, I was like, I don't know, I feel like Tennessee might be up there. And you could say, well, but Arkansas beat Tennessee by double digits. They sure did. Tennessee beat Alabama, on their home floor. And Alabama just beat Arkansas. And I think I might have got a little too caught up on the recency bias there. At the same time, Alabama hasn't lost in like a month. Credit to them for winning a bunch of basketball games. So with that group 2 through 4, I feel like you could probably have it in any order. A lot of the seed lists, which we'll talk about later, do. But I went Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee. I saw you went Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama. I don't really think there's a wrong answer there.
Yeah, and it's definitely like that is a tier right there. And so regardless of who you're arguing for, we do have to just acknowledge it's not much separation at all. And I think there's a pretty clear line between both Florida and whoever's number 2 and whoever's number 5 and the rest of this pack. Like I think that's a very clear divider there. I did the thing where I really didn't want to rank. Like I personally just like have Arkansas over Bama. Like I just think they're a better team. I think if they played on a neutral site today, right now, I think Arkansas would win. They did just literally play, and Bama did win. So it's kind of tough to like rank Arkansas over Bama just if it's a head-to-head thing. So Tennessee was huge for me here, where I was like, Tennessee does have a win over Bama. So it's really not that hard to make a case for Tennessee over Bama, at least, on paper. And I feel like you can easily make the case for Arkansas over Tennessee for, various different reasons. And so I'm with you that not much separation. I don't really have much of a problem. I think Bama really all along, even when their record was kind of average, we just gave them that benefit of the doubt because we respect what they've done as a program so much. So I can certainly see it through that lens as well. Then I think that is just pure chaos after Vanderbilt. We both just kind of slid Vanderbilt there at number 5, and then
after
it's just
they
complete
lost
anarchy.
2 games. Vanderbilt lost 2 games. I went into this thinking, okay, I'm probably going to kind of have them drop back a little bit closer to the middle of the pack. Excuse me. But the more I looked at it, I was like, behind who?
It's hard. It's hard to do.
It's really difficult. And so, like, Georgia, do I think they're the 6th best team in the SEC? No, I don't. I think that they've solidified themselves for the tournament, but let's not get carried away. At the same time, they had a hell of a week, man. They went and won at Rupp Arena and took care of Kentucky there, and then they turned around and it was kind of a bubble on bubble matchup, and they beat Texas by double figures, and it was a 2-0 week, and so they wound up actually being higher on my pecking order than I thought that they would be. You know what I mean? Missouri, they go 1-1. They beat Vanderbilt. That's a good win for them. They lose to Arkansas. Are you really going to hold that against them that much? So it's crazy. Texas A&M had a 2-0 week. It was nice to see them kind of get off the schneid a little bit. So I'm going to be interested to see what they look like when we see them in Bud Walton Arena on Wednesday.
Yeah. What did A&M? Did they lose 4 straight games at one point, or was it 3 straight?
I think 4.
I think it might have been 4. Yeah. They had that little weird where they kind of, I don't want to say it got exposed because it really wasn't even as much that because they played some good teams, but came back down to earth a little bit. And then you're right. They have 2 wins this weekend or this week, neither of which were particularly impressive. You kind of scrape by the skin of your teeth against Ole Miss. And then who was it that they beat Saturday? Was it Ole Miss or South Carolina?
Who were we talking about?
A&M. Who did A&M beat Saturday?
Oh, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Okay, yeah. Another bottom tier SEC team that I think they beat them by 3 or something like that. So it's like a win that I frankly was like, I'm just going to rank them at 6 because they haven't done anything egregious in a while. And, I'll just kind of give them the benefit of that with a resume. I actually appreciate that you were like, no, those guys aren't good. I'm not giving them a bump.
Yeah, and I also think that I had faded them a lot further last week, maybe than even you had. So they had more room they needed to climb, I guess you would say. But had they knocked off somebody really good, then maybe I'd have felt a little bit differently. I was also weirdly kind of impressed with Missouri, seeing them live. I didn't expect that to be the case. Their front court is pretty tough in there. Like Phillips is a big boy, but Mark Mitchell and Trent Pierce, like those dudes could do some damage. And that was a hard game for Arkansas. So maybe I'm a little bit higher on them than I should be. I see from Not a Burner, he says, gentlemen of Inside Arkansas, why Kentucky over Auburn in the power rankings? Auburn did just beat them in that that game at the end. For me, it's as simple as Auburn had lost 5 straight before that game. You know what I mean? Like you got the win, and so credit to you for that. But they had lost 5 straight games going into that one. I wound up, I know Kentucky's lost 3 in a row, but they've been playing good ball before that. For me with Auburn, and we'll talk about it when we get into the seeding, but they're 3 games over 500 now. They've taken on a lot of loss volume. They have not been playing well. That was a good win for them to kind of get back on the right side of things, but I'm anxious to see how they followed up. They go to Oklahoma tomorrow. I'm not sure they're going to win that game. Like, I don't feel that much better about Auburn. I'll give them credit for getting that dub, but I still think looking at, who's playing better recently, who's got the better body of work, all those things, I still kind of lean Kentucky personally.
Well, so like obviously when teams play head to head, you got to respect it to an extent. I am taking a little bit of the college football playoff committee approach where I'm like, head to head only matters if like I really think these teams are dead even. And from a record standpoint, from even a resume standpoint, those teams are not dead even. In fact, in the SEC standings, you got 2 games that separate those teams. And so I think that the head to head matters. I will also point out that when you win by literally 1 point at home, we always talk about, okay, if a team wins by 7 at home, does that mean they win by 1 on the road? And what does that mean for neutral? Like, you kind of play that game. When someone wins by literally 1 point at home, you don't dismiss it. Like you said, it's still a great win for Auburn. That was a big one for their resume. But like, I don't look at that and I'm like, oh, that was a definitive, you're better than Kentucky type of performance. It was kind of a fluke win. If I'm just being 100% honest with you, hate to say that in honor of our guy Cats by 21, but I feel like it was kind of, if they play that game 10 times, I think Kentucky probably wins 8, if I'm being honest. I still don't know how they ended up winning. I was keeping up with it the entire second half, and then Auburn just somehow, they never led like at any point during that game, and all of a sudden they just win.
Yeah, I think Kentucky was up by 9 at one point there in the second half. It felt like they were they definitely had it under control. I felt like they were going to run away with it. Oway had gotten going. I was like, all right, yeah, Kentucky's probably going to just put the dagger in Auburn here. And yeah, it was one thing after another. Honestly, we have seen Kentucky just kind of come out of nowhere and win games that they, you wouldn't expect them to win. They really did it both times against Tennessee, where it felt like they were down and, like they were competitive, but at arm's length the entire time. And then it's just like, boom, within the last couple minutes, they overtake them, they win the game. And you're just kind of sitting there going, how the heck did they just do that? And it kind of happened to them. I felt like at Auburn, obviously there was the push off call, the offensive foul on Chandler that Kentucky fans aren't happy about. But at the end of the day, you could have still gotten a defensive stop and a defensive rebound there at the end. They gave up a couple of them, and Freeman got that putback, and they wound up sneaking out of there. So Stephen Pearl, who I don't know how much you got to watch that game in real time, but his body language stunk that entire game. Like he was reacting, is not happy. He was smacking the scorer's table and everything. But then he acted like he was the happiest man in the world after the game, as he probably should. And it was Mark Pope that was, he didn't have a good day in the press conference there.
Well, dude, it's kind of crazy. I wonder, as weird as that game was for Auburn, I wonder if that's the type of win that can almost galvanize a locker room, which obviously they were in need of that. They obviously got some weird stuff going on there, but also they needed that from an NCAA tournament resume standpoint. Mm-hmm. If Auburn doesn't get that last little tip in there at the end or whatever, they don't get that last little push, they have the same SEC record as Mississippi State, who just beat them, by the way. You know what I mean? Like Auburn would be, let alone NCAA tournament, we'd be having a really brutal conversation about Auburn. So that win is going to be huge from a resume standpoint. And I wonder if it's maybe just going to give them the spark they needed to not do anything stupid down the stretch. Because from a resume standpoint, if they kind of just tread water, they'll probably get in. But you mentioned, like, are they going to beat Oklahoma? We don't even know. Like that's it's going to be very interesting to see if this win is like maybe, I don't want to say a turning point, but if it's something they can actually build on. Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Here's what I want to do real quick, and we'll move through these fast because we got a few of them, but they've got this awesome website. By the way, people should check it out. It's called bball.nothing.net/SEC. And it kind of creates the bracket for you in real time as you do the pick'ems for the games, and gives you all the information on the tiebreakers and everything like that. So we've only got 4 games for every team left. Let's kind of go through these rapid fire. We'll pick who we think is going to win the game, and we'll pull up the tournament bracket and see what it looks like, how it shakes out for everybody. Love it.
I do the screen share thing, but I'm terrified of doing it. You probably saw it. My dog was over here roaming around. He kicked my cord on my external monitor. Everything went black for a minute, then it reappeared. I was like, all right, I guess we're good. So
I was kind of wondering what happened, but I was like, I kept hearing you. So I was like, okay, I guess that's a good sign.
Yeah, you freaked me out. Okay, so the midweek games that we have this week, we have Tennessee at Missouri.
I think Missouri beats them, dude. I'm kind of with you in that I was a little bit impressed by Missouri in a losing effort on Saturday.
They got the size, man.
That win over Vanderbilt is also a really important one. Missouri's not a lock to make the NCAA tournament, like by any stretch of the imagination.
Sure.
So there should be a little bit of desperation still. I think Dennis Gates, I got to give him some credit. I think he's doing a good job. Like Missouri's had some games that they've completely pulled out of their ass. They've, really had some games where they've been overmatched, but they've been competitive for like all of SEC play, start to finish. They've got a nice little conference record. I think he's doing a good job there. I think this is one where Tennessee's been, their only losses are to Kentucky in the last year. I think Tennessee could very much afford a loss here. Como's like not a hard place to play in the relative of the SEC, but I could see Missouri winning that one. I'm going to be way quicker on the other ones, I swear.
Yeah, you're all good. You're all good. We've got, and I kind of like the Missouri idea as well there. We've got Auburn at Oklahoma.
Auburn has to win this game. Genuinely, you cannot lose this game.
I think so. It's a tricky one, but I'll take Auburn over there. I'll take Auburn. Kentucky at South Carolina. I've got Kentucky. They should, I know they've lost 3 in a row, and now it's like a backs against the wall, do or die kind of thing. Well, they should be fine there. If your backs are against the wall at South Carolina, you'll be all right. They beat Mississippi State, I think it was.
Yeah. So, I don't think they're going to build on that.
Mississippi State is at Alabama. We thinking Bama here?
Sure.
Texas A&M at Arkansas. Anything afoot?
I hope not. And I think for this one, I think we all should as a nation just reasonably assume Arkansas wins this one and be surprised if they don't. If they don't, I will give my props and I will reassess everything. I think you got to assume Arkansas here, though.
Right. LSU is at Ole Miss. Not that this matters.
I guess you go Ole Miss.
Yeah, they've lost 9 in a row. Ole
Wow.
Miss has. It's crazy. Florida at Texas. Interesting game.
That is an interesting game. Would Texas clinch a tourney spot if they win that game?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That would be a clincher.
That'd be like
for them
9
for sure.
SEC wins too, or something like that.
Yeah.
I think Florida probably beats them though.
Me too. I think that could be a tricky spot for them. I'm not saying they're looking ahead to face in Arkansas, but it's like
They should be.
top 20 game, college game day coming to campus and everything like that. I could see them getting off to a slow start. They should be able to handle Texas on the road. And then Georgia is at Vanderbilt.
Who? Georgia's at Vanderbilt?
Georgia's at Vandy. Yeah.
Vanderbilt typically great at home, but they've been a little sketchy here lately. I think Vanderbilt probably bounces back here.
I think
especially
so,
since
too.
Georgia's gotten their tough ones out of the way.
Right. Okay, and then Saturday, do you like Auburn at home over Ole Miss? I do.
Yeah, got to.
Florida hold and serve at home over Arkansas.
Yeah.
I think so. Georgia over South Carolina at home. Nothing crazy there, right?
I hope not.
Okay, now's where it gets interesting. Kentucky hosting Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt put it on them in the first game. I don't know.
I think Kentucky probably will be favored in this game, but because Vanderbilt hadn't been playing great for a while now.
Yeah, Saturday at Rupp, they probably got revenge on their mind. I think I actually like Kentucky in that spot.
Borderline, yes. I think I lean Kentucky as well.
Okay. Oklahoma at LSU. Not that anyone cares. I'm just gonna say Oklahoma. I can't
They're
get there with LSU.
LSU's dead in the water, like for real
Yeah.
dead. They're the only SEC team that's not even trying anymore.
Yeah. Missouri at Mississippi State.
That's a tricky one, low key. But I mean, if you're Missouri, you just have to be head on a swivel. Like Mississippi State has nothing to play for. You got to get that one done. I think they do.
Okay. Texas at Texas A&M. It's an interesting game. Texas would be coming off the Florida game. A&M would be coming off a trip to Arkansas.
I like A&M here.
I'll go A&M. Got them at home. I think they beat them at Texas earlier in the year. Alabama at Tennessee. Now Tennessee walked into Coleman and beat Bama with Charles Bediako a few weeks ago. It was a good game, but
I would be actually kind of stunned if Tennessee didn't win this game here.
yeah, they should be able to handle that one in Knoxville, I would think. Okay, and then next week we'll go quick. LSU is at Auburn. We like Auburn.
Yes, we have to.
Mississippi State at Florida. We like Florida. Alabama at Georgia.
I mean,
they would be coming off of the trip to Tennessee. Alabama would.
They would, and Georgia's not necessarily a crazy atmosphere. I think I probably lean Georgia, but I don't feel great about it. What do you think?
I think Alabama's better.
Sure.
But I that is kind of a letdown spot.
Does Bama have the most fraudulent win streak of all time going on right now?
Potentially. Yeah, they potentially do. I'll stick with them though, just because they're way more talented. Vandy shouldn't lose at Ole Miss. Missouri at Oklahoma. That game went to that was the double buzzer beater game the first time they played.
Yeah, I mean that's again not. It's gonna be tougher than they think.
Yeah,
Missouri's got a lot of just like gut check, like you can't lose this game on their schedule. I think that's one they can probably win though.
Yeah, I think so too. Tennessee will be fine against South Carolina. Kentucky at Texas A&M. That's an interesting one.
I think A&M beats them. That's the battle of mid right there. But I think A&M probably beats them.
Okay. And then Arkansas, you got them in their home finale over Texas?
Yes.
Okay. Then the last Saturday, we've got Auburn at Alabama.
Bama.
Okay. Florida at Kentucky.
Florida.
Okay. Texas A&M at LSU. A&M.
A&M, I would assume.
Arkansas at Missouri.
Missouri.
So it's going to be an interesting one there. Yeah, Arkansas.
Dude, Missouri actually might be the team to like just pay attention to. Every single game they're playing down the stretch has like ultra high stakes.
Yeah, I know. I've got Ole Miss, South Carolina. It doesn't necessarily really matter. Georgia, can they win at Mississippi State?
I think they have to. Yeah.
Okay. Vanderbilt at Tennessee. Tennessee just won at Vandy.
Tennessee smokes them. Probably beats them by like 18, honestly.
I think you might be right. And then Oklahoma at Texas.
Probably Texas, because Texas still would not be super. They would be. They're in, but they would not be able to afford losing there.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so what does that make? Now is that everything?
That is everything. I'm gonna pull this. I'm gonna pull this bracket up. That way we can look at it real quick. But as I'm pulling it up, I will share with you the seeds. Let me just do a little screen grab here. So that would have, obviously Florida as the number one. This is very interesting what we just did here. You're going to find out.
We also made
why
a lot of assumptions. Obviously there's a lot that we could, nitpick
I think we may have had Missouri winning out.
Yeah, we had them winning a lot of 50-50 games at best.
Yeah, because what that did is that put them in the top 4, and it bumped Arkansas out of there.
Yeah, no, let's Arkansas beats Missouri. Screw that. Yeah, flip that around. Arkansas beats Missouri.
Who do we have them beating that we shouldn't have had them beating?
A lot of teams, honestly.
Yeah.
Who was that? There was one. Somebody
Tennessee.
has
we had them getting Tennessee at home, is what it was.
Yeah, they're not beating Tennessee and Arkansas.
One or the other, but not both.
And they might lose to both, frankly. I'd be less surprised if they lost to both.
Yeah.
Just give them the Arkansas win, or give Arkansas the win there. And does that just move Arkansas to 4?
Yeah, that would move Arkansas to 4.
Okay.
So
just look. So everyone just adjust mentally and know.
It would basically be the exact same bracket, just Arkansas and Missouri flipped.
Which is how God intended it.
Yeah.
Because now that I'm thinking about it, because the reason I kind of said Missouri is because I was like, oh yeah, Arkansas could probably afford to lose there, and they could, but yeah, no. If the 4 seed is up for grabs and you lose in Como, I'm actually going to be livid.
Yeah, that would be tough. But yeah, that has okay, so that would have Arkansas going 2-2 down the stretch, Missouri 4-0, so that's how they would catch them. But it's like stranger things have happened in there. Tennessee gets the 2, Bama gets the 3, 6 for A&M, 7 for Kentucky, Vandy all the way down there at 8. Wow. We'll
Vanderbilt see. On Saracen, I remember Vanderbilt being the literal favorite to win the SEC preseason, going into conference play. That should be. And I remember they were undefeated at the time, and we thought we were they're good, but holy cow, they're not going to win the league.
Right. Yeah. Come on now. Okay. Let's move on to something else here. I wanted to put you on the spot a little bit.
I'm very nervous about this. I just want to get this out. Because you said I was going to squirm, and a lot of things can make me squirm, but I am a little bit horrified of how this is going to go down.
So, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do some blind resume picks here. Team A versus Team B. Nobody cheat and go look at KenPom rankings or whatever. That's not fair. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 blind resumes on the screen, and we can take a look at them. We can talk through them a little bit, and I'm going to have you choose which team you would seed higher before we reveal who the teams are.
I'm hoping I'm smart enough to be able to identify.
I hope you are too. And here's the thing. So, and we'll mix it up. We'll start doing 2 or 3 of these a week leading up to Selection Sunday. For what it's worth, though, I left the net rankings off of this because the committee chair said flat out that they don't reference net rankings when they do this. Only the quad records. It doesn't matter what your net is. It's everybody else's. So I took that off of there. Also left conference record off because it's not part of the selection criteria. Every game means the exact same.
Oh, dude, there's no way I'm guessing any of these because that's what I have. Everyone's memorized is their net ranking and their conference record. Those are the only 2 metrics I know, Curtis. You just took them out of my system.
This should be fun then. Okay. And so, and this is just for fun, but it's also to illustrate the types of decisions that the selection committee has to make here. And this is just the SEC alone. Right. And so what we might do is I'll let you pick which one you would take. Then I'll let you take a stab at picking which teams they are before I let you know who it is.
Yeah, dude, this is about to be brutal. I'm about to look like the biggest schmuck on the planet, but I'm ready for this. I'm ready. Let's go.
You're not. You're not. This is not going to be that easy. Okay, let me pull up the first one. Okay. Here we go. So, first one here. If you take a look at it, Team A, they've got more Quadrant 1 wins overall. but Team B has more top end wins. Those are those quad 1As in there. So the top half of the first quadrant. They have identical records against quad 1 and quad 2, both sitting there at 11-7. Strength of schedule, almost identical, 15-11. If you look at Team B, they actually have a slight edge in all of the metrics there. So Ken Pom, Torvik, BPI, all that. But then Team A won the head-to-head matchup.
So I don't love Team A only having 2 quad 1, like the 6 and 7 against quad 1, 2 and 6 versus quad 1A.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love that. And so I'm trying to do the math. Does that mean they've played more games against quad 2 teams? Or is that completely irrelevant here?
Well, it means so they played 8 games against the elite of the elite, whereas Team B has played 10.
Yeah. I guess like on paper, you just kind of have to go with Team B here because of the metrics across the board. Right. And if I'm starting to, I might be getting onto something here.
Okay.
I'm worried one of these teams is Arkansas.
Okay.
And I'm worried that one of these other teams is either Vanderbilt or Tennessee.
Okay.
Am I anywhere close?
Yes. No, you are.
Okay. Thank God. Yeah. So I'm thinking that Arkansas is probably Team A.
Okay.
And I'm thinking Team B might be either Vandy or Tennessee. That's just in my head, kind of where I'm thinking. And yeah, I got to be honest with you. I do kind of like Team B from a metric standpoint. I think they're kind of a wash, but Team B just kind of being slightly above in all of them, I think probably does outweigh the head-to-head matchup.
Okay. Well, Team B is either Tennessee or Vanderbilt. Which one do you think it is?
Let's go with that's Tennessee.
You nailed it, dude.
Really?
You nailed it.
and I what's crazy, Curtis? This is a great exercise because if you had asked me 5 minutes ago, should Arkansas be a higher seed than Tennessee, I would have said yes and not even really hesitated. I think I've come around, or I'm like, I think Tennessee should be a higher seed.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. And the reason that I paired those two teams together is because I was surprised this morning when I started seeing some of the updates, and Tennessee had kind of jumped from, I wouldn't say out of nowhere, but they were closer to a 6 than they were a 4. Now you're seeing them pop up on the 4 line ahead of Arkansas on a lot of seed lists. And that was, going into the weekend, and Arkansas had won. So people were kind of surprised to see that. But then if you put them side by side, it's very, very close. I know Arkansas's got the head-to-head, but it does make sense there in terms of those two teams. And it also, last night, Arkansas had 3 quad 1A wins. They woke up this morning, they only had 2.
Who dipped out?
It might have been Louisville.
Oh, it had to have been Louisville because they
and if it wasn't, then it definitely is now because they just got destroyed by, or they were getting destroyed by North Carolina anyway. So
yeah, I think they did.
Happened.
One thing I'm thinking about now, Curtis, imagine if Arkansas had just beaten Houston. Like and Tennessee, by the way, did beat Houston on a neutral site, just like Arkansas had an opportunity to do. Tennessee did, Arkansas didn't. I think if you flip those two results and have Arkansas beat Houston and Tennessee not, I bet you all those little numbers right there, BPI would probably be more like 15-16 for Arkansas, and it'd be more like 15. You know what I mean? Like that literally might end up being the difference between those two teams. And maybe the head-to-head will. I certainly would prefer it be the head-to-head that the committee values over everything, but I think that Houston game for both teams is probably going to end up being the decider between them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it very well may be. I mean, had Arkansas simply won that double overtime game at Alabama the other day, all of a sudden, a lot of that's flipped, that the quad 1 record's over 500. You got an extra quad 1A, the road neutral record there flips. And yeah, I mean, that stuff makes a lot of difference there. Crazy how one shot can kind of dictate things. Okay. Got 2 more. I'm gonna pull up another one here.
Let's do it. Okay. Wow. What the heck? Okay.
So yeah, here we go. All right. So for this one, Team A, they've got 1 more win and also 1 more loss in the first 2 quadrants combined. So they're 14-7 in quad 1, quad 2 versus Team B that's sitting there at 13-6. They have 1 fewer quadrant 1 win overall, but they have more of those top end victories. So they've got 3 in a quad 1A. By the way, Team B, it's important to note this, that it's flipped since I made this graphic. They have 2. So 3 quad 1As for Team 1 for Team A and 2 for Team B there.
So
Team B, if you look at it, Team B leads all the predictive metrics, and Team A has all the resume metrics and a more difficult schedule. But then again, Team B won the head-to-head matchup.
So Team B beat Team A.
Yep.
I am thinking that Team B just might be the Vanderbilt Commodores.
Okay.
That's my gut. But do they even have 6 losses? Does Vanderbilt have 6 losses? That's what's throwing me off a little bit.
Does Vanderbilt have 6 losses? I think so. No, they've got 6 losses in conference play, I think. Vanderbilt does.
I think that's how many losses they have overall. So that would make sense. Okay, yeah, Vanderbilt is 21-6. I'm thinking Vanderbilt's Team B, especially with like the team metrics, always, because the team metrics have always loved Vanderbilt. And I'm wondering if Team A might be who has a brutal schedule like that. It couldn't be Auburn. Like, it couldn't be Auburn, right? It's not someone that low on the totem pole, is it?
I tried to make it teams that were fairly close in, seeding or whatever.
Is this maybe like Vanderbilt A&M? But I'm trying to think, who did Vanderbilt beat head to head? I might just be so off on this one.
You're not far off. Which one do you like?
I think I like Team A better because I care more about the resume metrics than I do the team metrics, which I think probably the NCAA tournament committee does as well. The road and neutral, I think that's like a wash to me.
Yeah.
And it just seems like they have just more overall games against better competition. And so, I'm sure the conference records are going to be what throws me for a loop here. But I think I like Team A over Team B.
Okay. You want me to tell you who you just chose over who?
Yeah, because I know it's bad.
You chose Alabama over Vanderbilt.
Okay.
So you had Vandy.
I'm glad you said that. Now I feel good about it.
Okay. So you've had Tennessee over Arkansas and then Alabama over Vanderbilt. Now I moved, and I want to do that because those are the 4 teams that are like jockeying for position every day on the 4-5 line. That they're all right beside each other, and it's close with all of them. And it's like if we matched up Arkansas with Vanderbilt and then Tennessee with Alabama, we might have completely different outcomes based off that. So it's not an easy exercise for people to do. We got one more, and I wanted to move down, it would make sense to compare Florida's with anybody, right? Sure, so I moved down a little bit closer to the teams that are maybe a little bit more iffy there.
Give me some bubbles.
We got them.
Bubblies right here.
Okay. We got them. Okay, so last one for today. And so we've gone through, the 4 SEC teams fighting for the 4-5 spot. So we dropped down a little bit closer towards the bubble where things are equally weird. So here we have both teams equal with 5 quad 1 wins at the moment. Now Team B has an extra quad 1A win over there. One of them is 7-12 versus the first 2 quadrants. One of them is 8-10. So more opportunities, more losses kind of deal is kind of what it looks like to me. Both are below 500 in the first 2 quadrants. Both below 500 in road neutral. Both looks like they've got some pretty heavy loss volume there. But they both have top 5 schedules. And so that's probably what's keeping them in these conversations. If you look at Team A, they've got an edge in Torvik, strength of schedule, KPI. Team B, they're ahead at places like KenPom and BPI. Their strength of record is higher. But once again, in the head-to-head, Team A got the victory.
I feel stupid for almost preferring Team A. But I don't know. I feel like so Team A's got 12 overall losses, between quad 1A.
The first 2 quads, yeah.
I think I'm looking at Auburn for Team A.
You're correct.
And I think I'm looking at maybe Kentucky, Team B.
You're correct.
Dude, Curtis, I listen, I'm not happy with, we don't celebrate too much here, but I'm glad that I just didn't look like a complete moron where I was like just way off. And I was
You did
like,
great.
"Oh."
You were like 5 out of 6, dude. You did good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think this is probably fair. Like I think you should view Team B as a better overall tournament resume. But it is very interesting, just like the overall games. I mean, Auburn's overall schedule, that number one strength of schedule, is carrying a lot of weight. And I think they've done just enough against it, And so I think in reality, Team B, I know that you're not including net and conference record. I think those things will very much favor Kentucky. And so I think Kentucky's going to end up getting a higher seed without a doubt. But I think this is kind of telling that them and Auburn look pretty similar on paper.
Yeah, and because if you look at it, and we'll do the average seed stuff here in just a second, but Kentucky's probably a full 3 seed lines or so ahead of where Auburn is. If you look at most projections, and it's like, is there really that much difference there? I don't really know that there is, and I think a lot of it for Auburn right now is it's their loss volume because the metrics and everything are there. They look good. But they've taken on a lot of water to the point where it's like they're kind of at risk here of if they, let's say they go 2-2 in their final 4, and then you go to the SEC tournament and you don't win it, you've got 15 losses on your ledger. Got some great wins, the number one strength of schedule, but it will put the committee in a spot that's going to be tricky for sure.
Well, and it just kind of reminds you of like if Auburn hadn't won that game Saturday, they would be probably getting ready to get shafted and miss the NCAA tournament. When if you look at the resume and you look at what they did, not only just with the teams they played, but like they have some wins, they beat Arkansas by 20 or whatever it was. You know what I mean? Like they've got some actual wins on their resume. But those losses, even if they are quality losses, they do add up. And, it's always tough. I feel like every year there's a team. I mean, North Carolina was kind of the Auburn of last year, where they just had all these crazy quality losses, and it kind of ended up being enough for them to get in. It's gonna be interesting to see if Auburn can afford any more slips on the banana peel.
Yeah,
I kind of think not, though. You know what I mean? Like I think that conference record, it's gonna be really tough.
It's favorable for them the rest of the way. It looks like for their schedule. I just pulled it up because I was going to look at something else, but I wouldn't say favorable. They got to go to Oklahoma. That's a tricky game. Yeah. But then they get both Ole Miss and LSU at home. So just don't do anything stupid there. And if they're able to split between going at Oklahoma and then at Alabama, obviously the more difficult game, they're probably golden. If they go 2-2 there and they lose the 2 road games, that's where it might get a little bit dicey for them.
So if they went 3-1, would they be 8-10 in SEC play, or would they be? No, they'd be 9-9, right?
They are currently 6-8. So if they went 3-1, they'd be 9-9.
3-1.
Yeah,
I think if that happens, if they go 3-1. They're good. Super locked into the tournament.
Absolutely locked. Yeah, I would agree with that. They if they go 2-2,
they could have a chance.
17-14, 8-10 with the top strength of schedule. Maybe would get in. They would probably just need to not lose at Wednesday sadness. You know what I mean? Like take care of that. But still, they'd be looking at an 18-15-ish. Overall record there going into Selection Sunday. It wouldn't be comfortable. My suggestion: go 3-1 and then don't have to worry about it. Yeah.
Well, and then I see STL Razor says they're going to have to win out. If they win out, then it's like over. They made it.
Sure.
They could 1,000%, and I think they will go 3-1 and will make the tournament. But yeah, if that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, man, if they do something stupid here, like if you lose to Oklahoma, now all of a sudden you really are going to Nashville being like, you got to make noise just to even feel good.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I don't envy Auburn. It is a favorable schedule, but like favorables, you'd almost rather just play good teams that you can afford to lose to, which is what they've been doing all year.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's an uncomfortable situation to be in. You know what I mean? We kind of lived that life last year as Razorback fans, but not to this level. By this point in the season, you felt pretty good about where Arkansas was at, but we were still having those conversations even after winning that last week. They went and blew Vanderbilt out on the road. And they beat Mississippi State at home, and you're like, oh my God, they're a lock. And you still have people saying now. So,
Curtis, they beat South Carolina in the SEC tournament, and people were like, yeah, you probably need one more to be safe.
Yeah.
I remember that being a thing.
Yes, I do too. I will never forget how that felt for sure. Okay, so real quick, and then we'll get into the chats. I want to do some over/under stuff on the NCAA tournament seeds for these SEC teams. And what I did is I went over to the bracket matrix, and it's still got to update and everything, but it's going to be fairly close to what you're expecting here. There's 121 brackets out there, and they have everybody's average seed. And so I just rounded it to the closest half number. That way, for example, Florida at 2.5. That way, if, over meaning a 2 or better, under meaning a 3 or worse, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Let's roll through this and see what we think. So Florida at 2.5. Do you think that they can play their way onto the 2 line, or do you think not?
I think they can if they just win out, pretty much, which I know sounds like for everyone else, that's like if they win out, of course. Florida, they like genuinely can win out. I think beating Arkansas, even at home, will give them a nice little bump.
At Texas is a quad 1 for them.
Yeah, I mean,
their Kentucky is a quad 1 for them.
They are number 7 in the net right now.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, hell, even if they lose any of these games down the stretch, like they're going to be in a very good spot. I think if they win out the regular season, you would add a couple more like legitimate wins. I think they could play their way into the 2 seed line, especially because Houston, I don't know, Houston's playing like right now, right?
Yeah, they're playing at Kansas.
And they've lost 2 straight, I believe. Again, Houston's great. They've got a great resume. If they lose tonight to Kansas, all of a sudden they're starting to fall off that 2 seed line a little bit. I could definitely see Florida getting into the 2 seed line. 3 probably makes more sense though.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. Vanderbilt over under set at 4.5 for their seed. And we just did the exercise of these teams that are, fighting between a 4 and a 5 seed. So it's all about where you think they land. I know that they still play, a fairly challenging schedule here.
One thing that we've noticed about the committee is like, let's say that you play like a 5 out of 10 difficulty schedule. You could go 900-0 in that 5 out of 10 difficulty. The committee doesn't really value that much as they would if you played a 9 out of 10 difficulty and you lost 3 games. Mm-hmm. They will just always view those as pretty much the same thing. I'm interested to see what the committee does with Vanderbilt's non-conference schedule because it isn't a hard schedule at all, but they did win all the games and won them very impressively, which is why they have so much equity with the resume and like the predictive markets is because they just had all these net ratings and all this. I think the committee might look at Vanderbilt and be like, I know they don't value conference record like crazy, but they might just be like, hey, you finished 7th in the SEC. You're not them. You are not them. You're not those guys. I'm going to go over a 4 seed, as in like they will have a 5 seed or worse for this one. I also think Vanderbilt's, not playing great basketball. They could lose 2 or 3 more games here. I think they end up with a 5 or 6 seed.
I'm going to say that they wind up in that 5-6 range. Also, they've got Georgia at home. That's a tricky game, but then they finish with 3 straight on the road. They're at Rupp Arena, at Ole Miss, and then at Tennessee. They would probably be fortunate to go 2-2 here, and that's not going to get them on the 4 line. I know that much. So
maybe those road games will help them though. They go 2-1 in those road games, and they beat Georgia at home. Then you're probably in a pretty good spot there. But I'm with you that I think it's more likely that they lose a few of those.
Yeah. Over under 4.5 there for Alabama.
I think they are going to be a 4 seed.
I think they are too. Yeah.
So I'm going to go under for them.
Yeah. It's a weird thing to do an over under. We'll just go high or low. Yeah, high or low. I say that they will be in a better spot. Their schedule is a little bit more favorable.
And going back to the point of non-conference, their non-conference was a much more difficult non-conference where they picked up some good wins. That St. John's wins aging tremendously. They also took some losses, but it's like, I think the committee has shown they'll give you that nod if you play a lot of good teams.
Yeah. They've got Mississippi State at home. They're at Tennessee, at Georgia, and then home against Auburn. So there might be a loss or 2 in there, actually. The game with Auburn, there's going to be a lot of that's a major rivalry. You know what I mean? It's like kick the records out the window, but also for Auburn, if that's not motivation enough, they'll be playing like we can stamp our spot type of game in there.
Yeah,
So
that's the desperation factor could be huge there. And not to mention it was a close game with Bediako.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Arkansas set at 4.5 also. I'm actually I think Arkansas is going to be a 5.
That's kind of where I'm leaning as well. Mostly because I don't think they're going to beat Florida.
That's the thing. If they beat Florida, there's no discussion about it whatsoever.
If they beat Florida, I can talk myself into 3 very easily. It won't take me long. I will have done it by the time we're done with the postgame show. I think you lose to Florida, and I think Arkansas will go 3-1, even though I did kind of hesitate on them, Missouri earlier. Sure. Even beating Missouri on the road, I think that's a great win that you would love to have on your resume. They're like 61 in net or something like that. I don't think that win is going to like bump Arkansas up a seed line. And I think the Florida loss, especially if it's like a 12-point loss or something like that, which, who knows what it'll look like. I think Arkansas will probably like see a little bit of a dip after that in the metrics and ratings, and they'll hold serve by winning these games they're supposed to win outside of it. I think Arkansas probably ends up as a 5 seed.
Yeah, I kind of feel like they're going to wind up as a 5 also. Florida is the one game that could definitely bump them a seed line. And then it's also about the other teams that are around you there. Mm-hmm. And it's not just the SEC schools. Like
Virginia,
they could benefit. Yeah, Virginia, we'll see, because I know that they've still got Duke on the schedule. They've got a couple. Texas Tech is still up there. They've lost JT Toppin, so you would imagine they're probably going to lose some games here moving forward. But then on the flip side, like Tennessee just got that big win, and it seems like they kind of passed you if you're Arkansas. St. John's, it feels like they haven't lost in like a year now. If they kind of keep rolling through the Big East and they beat UConn in a rematch, they will kind of, probably jump unless you also beat Florida. So there's a reasonable path for Arkansas to get to a 4, but it's going to be tricky. I think that they ultimately wind up at a 5. Tennessee also at a 4.5, by the way. So what do you think about them?
Same kind of thing, that I think that they're probably just going to kind of stay behind. Now, read me Tennessee's schedule real quick. The remaining schedule.
Tennessee's got a little bit of a slate here. They're at Missouri, won't be easy. They get Alabama at home. They do go to South Carolina, and then they end the year with a home game against Vanderbilt.
Yeah, so I'm the question I have in my mind is between Arkansas, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and Alabama, those 4 teams that we all lumped together, do 2 of them get a 4?
Might be 2 who get a 4 and 2 who get a 5, and they just don't play. They're not in the same bracket pod,
If that's the truth, I think that you're looking at Tennessee and Bama get the 4, Arkansas and Vandy get the 5.
Maybe.
And I think that kind of makes sense. I think obviously results can fluctuate. I mean, like Tennessee, let's say they beat Missouri by 20 on the road and then beat Bama by 16 at home, then they're like a lock as a 4, and then I would kind of have to readjust.
And we'll probably do this again next week, because we could show up on this show next Monday and Tennessee will have lost at Missouri, and then Alabama got revenge on them because they hit 14 threes, and then we're like, oh, well, it's not even a discussion at that point. But
and then Arkansas, that would be maybe where Arkansas, especially because they would have a similar opportunity at Missouri to finish the SEC slate. The Arkansas, I could see them. I think as it stands, if everything kind of plays out how it's supposed to, I think you're probably looking at Alabama and Tennessee as 4s. I would love for Arkansas to throw a wrench in that by beating Florida, or for Tennessee to throw a wrench in that by losing to Missouri, frankly.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I don't really care. Like, if you're a Razorback fan, you shouldn't care. If you're a fan of any of these teams, you shouldn't care if you're a 4 or a 5. Not going to make that much of a difference in who you're playing in the first round. Not going to make much of a difference of who you're playing in the second round, and then you're getting a 1 seed in the Sweet 16 no matter what. So that's
a fact right there. You should be low-key hoping you're a 6, matter of fact.
Exactly. No, that's exactly right. So I won't be torn up about it either way. If the Razorbacks wind up a 5 instead of a 4, okay, whatever. The only difference is they'll be wearing different colored jerseys. All these teams are jockeying for position with each other right now because they're very, very similar. Kentucky is at 7.5. Ooh, wow. Now, a lot of these haven't updated yet from the weekend, so I don't know. It's a quad 1 loss at Auburn, so that's probably actually not even going to hurt them that much. But yeah, 7.5 is where that seed's at. I think that Kentucky is 8-9 game bound.
I would agree. So I think like because when you first said 7.5, I was kind of like, oh, that seems low, but no, I think that's about right. Where's their net is in what are they in that like that late 20, early 30
I
range?
think they were 29, I think. So
I think you're looking. I think I would agree. 8 is probably about right where they're going to end up. And then you're in the same kind of conversation there, where like the difference between 7 to 10 is kind of all a pretty similar game there. But yeah, I think
right.
8 and 9 makes sense. We see a lot of SEC teams gravitate to the 8-9 line.
We do. Last year was crazy. I feel like every 8, 9, and 10 seed was an SEC team. And then they had Texas, I think, was at the first 4. So
yeah,
it's kind of
wild. Were they
in
11? Yeah, I guess first 4 was at 11. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now we got 2 teams here that are at 9.5, and it's Texas and Texas A&M.
A&M, I think, will be better than 9.5. I think they'll be an 8-9.
A&M,
if I had to, like, I think they'll be in that maybe even as high as 7. But I think, and I know the conference record doesn't mean that much, but it's going to end up looking pretty solid. You know, they'll probably get to 11 conference wins.
They have. Here's what's interesting. So they obviously they play at Arkansas on Wednesday, but then they get Texas at home, who they're kind of jockeying for position with right here. Then they get Kentucky at home, but then they end the year at LSU. So, I mean, they could go 1-3 the rest of the way, and then they're looking at a 10 or something maybe. But I tend to think that they're going to wind up splitting the 4 games here, which would have them at 21-10 overall and 11-7 out of the SEC. That's pretty solid. I know their non-conference schedule stunk and everything like that, but I mean,
it was a pretty stupid non-conference schedule. And I think if you look up at the end of the day and you're like, dang, how the hell did this 11-7 SEC team end up in a 10 seed? That would be how. But yeah, I think I see them being in that same 8-9 seed range, just like Kentucky, honestly.
Yeah, I think so
it was
too.
a Texas the other one?
Texas was the other one. Yeah, they were actually
they're a 10.
I think so too, man. They just can't seem to figure it out consistently enough. It's a strange team, man. Texas is, because I think they're dangerous, and they got a couple players who, if you're thinking about Arkansas playing them next week, and you think about the 2-point defense, you don't want to see their big man, and you don't want to see Dalen Swain. It's like that. That is not going to be an easy game at Bud Walton Arena. But yeah, they're sitting at 17-10. They're 8-6 in the league. And they had rattled off 5 in a row, but it was Oklahoma, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Missouri, and LSU. And then they get a little bit of a test there. They play Georgia, and they lose by double digits. They had an opportunity at Auburn, and they lost that game. They lost to Kentucky. They lost to A&M. They had that stretch at the beginning of SEC play that I think is kind of elevated them and has them in a good spot, because they won at Alabama, and then they handed Vanderbilt their first loss, and they kind of blew them out. And so you're looking at that and you're thinking, oh, okay, they might really be onto something here. But most of their opportunities from that point, Missouri on the road is a good win for them, bubble on bubble. Outside of that, it's a whole lot of meh.
What's a weird, they also, and I don't know how much the committee really cares about this. I know the metrics do, but like they've got some weird like margin of victories that have helped them. Like they beat Vanderbilt at home by 16. They beat Georgia by 20 at home. They go to Missouri, beat them by 17. And so that's why I think their numbers are really benefiting from a lot of this. But I wonder if the committee is maybe even just looking at that Bama game where they won on the road by 4. If you look at the rest of their resume, that almost just looks like a complete outlier and a fluke. More so than it is like proof that this is a foolproof, legitimate tournament resume. But Texas, I've never had a good read on from day one of conference play when they lost to Josh Hubbard to now. I've never really known what to make of them. They're already better than I thought they were going to be, so I'll give them some credit.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Georgia at 10.5. We just got a couple more here.
I think they'll be better than that. I think they're kind of headed for that 7-9 seed range as well.
I think so too. They did a lot of good for themselves last week, because they were kind of teetering in the wrong direction. They had lost 5 out of 6, and the only win in that time frame there was at LSU. But yeah, getting a win at Kentucky, and then that bubble win by double digits over Texas put them in a really good spot. They're at Vanderbilt, South Carolina at home, Alabama at home, Mississippi State away. Beat South Carolina and Mississippi State. That gets you to 21 wins. If they were able to, pick one of those other ones off, they'd really be in good shape. That's how you get up to a 7 or so. I think that they're going to wind up. They're kind of looking 8, 9-ish also. Maybe a 10. We'll see. But I think they're pretty solid at this point.
What we figured out during this exercise is there's a lot of SEC teams that are just jam-packed in that 7 to 10 seed range. And, they'll jockey for position just like those 4 and 5 seeds are, but they're all kind of the same kind of color, different shades of the same color.
Yeah. Auburn is at 10.5 right now.
I think Auburn low-key is looking a lot like first 4.
In my notes, so Auburn is at 10.5, Missouri is at 11.5, and in my notes I put Dayton beside both of them.
Yeah, they might just square off in Dayton. That would be sick. We should make an exception in the NCAA tournament. Just have them square off in Dayton.
Tigers on Tigers in the first 4 down there. I think that Auburn has a way to play itself onto the 10 line and then kind of be comfortable and be safe from that. I don't know if they're going to do it. I think that all hinges on this game at Oklahoma, honestly. That is one you can lose, and that would be problematic for them if it happened. Missouri, man,
I don't think Missouri's getting in sneaky.
Their metrics are just killing them, and I think they're good. I mean, I think they're a tournament team. I think Auburn is too, obviously. But yeah, Missouri, man, I mean, they're 52nd at Ken Palm. I know they don't reference the net that much, but that kind of takes into account your quads and everything. Their non-conference schedule was so bad that it's kind of held them back because they beat Florida. They're one of 2 teams in the conference that beat Florida. They won at Kentucky. That's a good win. They won at home against Auburn. Okay, fine. They won at Texas A&M. They just beat Vanderbilt. There's some good wins on there, man. But they're starting to take on a little bit of water here, and they've got Tennessee at home, at Mississippi State, at Oklahoma, and they finish with Arkansas at home.
They're going to have to beat at least one of Arkansas and you say Tennessee, is it that they play Tuesday there?
Yeah, Tennessee and Arkansas, they get at home. Mississippi State and Oklahoma, they have away. If they lose either one of those, they're kind of screwed.
I mean, you're looking at minimum 3-1 to make the NCAA tournament. I don't think you can lose to Arkansas and Tennessee and then be like stunned on Selection Sunday. You probably need to win one, and you low-key might need to go ahead and win both. 3-1 would at least have them to where you could go into Nashville and say, all right, if we win 2 games, we get to Saturday or Sunday, we can have a chance. But if you lose to both Arkansas and Tennessee, I think they're going to miss the tournament.
It's going to be really close for them. I thought they were pretty good, man. I'm not going to lie.
I would agree.
I see Cats in the chat said they weren't healthy with all those losses. They had some injuries during non-conference play. So I know they lost to Notre Dame. That's probably one you'd like to have back. But they got blasted by Kansas and Illinois there in non-conference play, and that's what sucked for them is because those are the only 3 opportunities they had. Everybody else was damn near outside the top 300, in the net. But I think for most of SEC play, they've been healthy. I'm trying to remember. They've had Pierce, I think, has played 14 games now. So I think he's been around for most all of SEC. And then Stone, that guard, has been back most of the time also. They're definitely a better team when they're at full strength. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, there we have it. Guess we're done with them.
I mean, ain't nobody else making that damn tournament if I had to reckon.
So that would be 11 SEC teams getting in.
If Missouri's in?
If Missouri got in. Missouri, Auburn, whoever. I guess there are a couple teams there that are at risk. I still feel like somebody's going to wind up getting left out, but I can't even imagine who it would be. Missouri's got the best odds of not making it, though.
Yeah, I think it's pretty. I mean, it would be unfortunate, but yeah, I think if they lose this game to Tennessee, then you start looking, moving forward where you're like, all right, you kind of have to win out. They enter NCAA tournament mindset right away.
For sure.
So yeah, good luck to Missouri. We bid you well.
For sure. Okay, let's get into the chats here. We got a few super chats, some other stuff that we'll get into. Appreciate everybody for hanging out with us. Derek says, do you think UN starts for the Hogs now after Cal's comments about what Pringle said in the postgame of Mizzou? Fair question. I'm going to say no.
I would agree.
I think they're going to kind of stick with what they've got going on here now, barring any types of injuries and everything. I think Ewan clearly is pretty content with coming off the bench, and if he can have his minutes or whatever, his touches and everything, he's good with that. Pringle, I don't think cares either way, but since they made the changes that they did make to the starting lineup, I went and ran the numbers at Torvik. You can take it from like by date. So since they did that, and that was before that Vanderbilt game, they're playing like a top 10 team in terms of efficiency nationally. So I wouldn't really mess with it too much. And I don't think it matters with those two guys. I don't know, Arkansas has been getting off to better starts. That hasn't been as much of a thing for them. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mind seeing it, but I think it's a valid question. I just don't think he's going to do it at this stage. Maybe if they lost, because he doesn't seem like he likes to do that kind of stuff unless they're coming off of a loss,
Yeah, which is honestly like I'm okay with.
Yeah, for sure. Fishman says the metrics will always hate us because we barely beat whoever that was early in the season. F the computer. Well, yes, part of the reason why Arkansas's Ken Pom and BPI and stuff is not as high as you'd like it to be is because they had those 2 games against Winthrop and Samford that they screwed around with. That's true. Part of it also is the defense over the course of the year. Arkansas has an elite level offense at this point, top 5 in the country. They've been teasing a little bit with their defense. They get up close to the top 40, and then they have a game where they wind up dropping 10 spots because they can't get any stops, inside the paint. If that was higher, if that was up inside the top 40, I think people would feel a lot better about it. But the Winthrop and Samford games at this point don't hold all that much weight. We talk about margin and everything like that. How many wins by more than 20 points does Arkansas have in SEC play? Several, against better teams. So they've done some good work there, but I think their defensive efficiency is holding them back more than those results are.
I mean, those results aren't holding nearly as much as they were when they were like one of 9 games on the schedule. That's what was so tough about it back then. Is like when you had such a small sample size, you really couldn't afford that. Arkansas now very much can afford that, which is why their metrics have, for the most part, stabilized.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Quinn says we had a 6-point lead with 3 minutes left, blew it and came back. Please get the way it played out right. Where you were down 9. You were down 9 at that point. Kentucky was in control. Closed the gap a little bit by halftime, still down multiple possessions midway through the second half. But yeah, you got the lead, blew the lead. Kentucky had the lead with 18 seconds left, and then you wound up winning the game. So, Auburn knew who his team, or Quinn knew who his team was in there. We
I mean, when you look at the numbers every day for your team, yeah, it's you figure it out after a while.
Yeah. Said, yeah, need to win the next 3. I agree. I just, if you do that, I think you're going to be fine, Quinn. And you might be anyway, but it's running into that tricky territory that you don't want to be in for sure. Says win the next 3 and play loose and try to win in the airplane hangar. Maybe get a 7 seed if
7
beat Alabama.
In the SEC tournament, maybe
4. So 4-0 would put them
9-9,
19-12,
10-8,
10-8 in the SEC. Really good schedule. That would include. That would add a couple more quad. Maybe an 8-9. I don't know about a 7. Maybe though. I mean that changes a lot if they go 4-0. I feel like that might be a little bit of a stretch, but that starts looking a whole heck of a lot more like a 8-9 type of team than it does a bubble team,
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. Hairless Hog says, sorry, boys, I sent 2 super chats after the Missouri win, but apparently neither went through. Those $20 games are getting close. Well, we appreciate you. Sorry that they didn't go through. I like that.
YouTube can be weird sometimes. Right? I never know how it works.
Right. That's crazy. I see Quinn's using the Torvik thing, which that's fair. He says Torvik has them as an 8 seed if they win the next 3, and then if they win 4, it has them as a 7. 2-2 has them as an 11, just missing Dayton. Okay.
And I get how in like especially in a computer model that's like, all these teams are not separated by a ton, how the difference in 2 games can take you 4 seed lines. But in terms of like really how the committee views things, it's very rare that you see a team, I know beating Bama would obviously be a massive one. But yeah, I don't know. I think 2-2 would probably have Auburn out of the tournament or close to it. He said Torvik has them in Dayton or whatever. I think 2-2 would have you in trouble. And so I get how two extra wins, especially one being against Alabama on the road, would be big. But I don't know if I can go all the way to 7 seed to I think 8 would probably be about right.
So I'm looking at some of these that have updated today. Actually, this is updated in real time, which is interesting. I wish that would have happened before we started this damn thing an hour ago. But a bunch of the brackets have updated, so the averages on the matrix have switched up a little bit.
Have our takes aged well?
Well, let's see. So Florida, they have as the top 3 seed right now. So very, very close right there. Who else? Bama, they have in there as the last number 4 seed. And then Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and Arkansas, the top 3 5 seeds right after that.
I love that.
Yeah. All very, very close. And all those teams, this is what's wild about it. Every one of them, the highest that you see them is a 4. The lowest that you see them is a 5. Like everybody's in that range, man. So, that's very interesting. So, Kentucky is the 3rd 7 seed right now. Georgia is a 9 seed, the last 9 seed. Texas A&M, Texas, and Auburn, they all have averaged out as the as 10 seeds, all right beside each other at the moment. Missouri, Dayton bound.
Okay, so there's your 11 SEC teams.
They're deep on the 11 line right now. So there you have it. Interesting. The other thing you got to consider for a team like Missouri is the bid thieves. Somebody come in there and sneak them. So if Miami of Ohio, for example, if they go undefeated here in the regular season, but then they get beat in their conference tournament, Missouri's getting left out, man. And
Are we sure Miami of Ohio would get an at-large?
I think with 1 loss they'd have to.
I think they would have to. But I've seen some bracketologists who have said it's not a lock at all. They could lose in the title game and not make it.
It would be wild if that happened. I wonder about St. Louis too. And I think that they're really good, and maybe I'm a little bit biased because
they'd be in trouble,
games all the time. But
they would probably be. They should probably be in no matter what. But I think they would probably be sweating.
They have them as a 7 right now. See, they got a 1-point loss to Stanford. That's not bad. That loss to Rhode Island is not going to age real well for them. But I know they play Dayton this week. That's not going to be easy. They play George Mason, who's good in that league. But if they lose, 1 more regular season and they get popped in that tournament early, they might wind up with, 3 quad 3 or quad 4 losses. And I want them to get in there. Now, I don't want Arkansas to see them. I'll tell you that right now. But and they're definitely in better shape than Miami is. But those mid-majors, man, it's interesting. Let's see. Big Shasta says, thinking about going to Nashville this year. Tickets are high, but I may just scalp some Cats fans tickets after their early exit. Good joke. I will say, though, that there is something to that. If Kentucky loses, all of a sudden those tickets are a lot easier to come by because they travel down there in droves. They really do take over Nashville. At least they have in the past when I've been down there for it. It's been kind of wild. Will they be able to afford the 5-day stay that Kentucky's going to have if they want to win that thing, which is probably something they're not used to. I don't know, but and also by the time, like, when would you want to go there? You know what I mean? Like for the weekend to see the semifinals and everything like that. By that point, 12 of the 16 teams are eliminated. So more tickets are going to be available anyway, but the longer Kentucky plays at the SEC tournament, the more expensive things are going to be. The Cats is whining about injuries that Kentucky has again. You can't call it 3 though. I mean, you can because you have 3
that Tulane transfer is not a major injury, bro.
You you recruited a guy who just tore his knee up. Like you knew that going into it. So I have a hard time with the crutch for that one, because it was always a very real possibility that this exact scenario that's playing out would play out. Pope chose to do that, and so you always ran the risk of rolling with the guys that you have there in the front court. Lowe's a nice player. He would certainly help if he was in there. Who's the third? Cam Williams. Good shooter.
I'll give him 1.5 major injuries. Let's call that, because Lowe is a major injury. Quainton's is half of one. You got 1.5 major injuries.
Yeah. I think the Lowe one is the most impactful. I mean, if Quainton was fully healthy, yeah, he's a lottery pick, of course, but I never went into the season thinking that they were going to get a whole bunch out of that anytime soon. Sure, he would have made a big difference, but I mean, it's not like that occurred during the season when he was wearing a Kentucky uniform, I guess is what I'm getting at. So,
well, and also, if you just judge him by what he did in a Kentucky uniform, clearly while he was out there, he didn't make a huge difference. So, yeah, I don't necessarily buy that if he just didn't have a setback, they would have just, kept on rolling.
Yeah, for sure. Anna's watching over on Twitter. Says, "Hey guys, been looking forward to this all day." Well, thank you. We appreciate that. Glad that you're here. Ryan says, should the SEC tournament be skipped by almost anyone solidly in the tournament without much room to move their seed? And why is the answer yes? Skipped?
What do you gain by skipping it? Because we can have a conversation about, is winning it, do you really gain that much by winning it? Does it maybe take some out of you? I see that. But what do you gain by skipping it, other than your basketball players don't play basketball for 2 weeks before the biggest tournament of their lives?
Yeah, that's my thought process on this would be the teams that this would impact the most are the teams that have to perform in it. You know what I mean? Like if you're a team that's fighting for your NCAA tournament lives, you are probably with the format now playing on Wednesday, and you might have to play 4 games in 4 days, 5 games in 5 days. But you have to, if you say, no, we're not going to do this, well, you're just not going to make the tournament then at that point. So, the teams that are, solidly in or whatever, for the most part, those are going to be the teams getting the single bye or a double bye or whatever. You already have a little bit of built-in rest there. And then you still got several that you have more rest than you normally would before a game going into the NCAA tournament. So, and I just think being a competitor is another part of it.
We've also seen teams, if you play in the SEC tournament final, you're playing on Sunday, your first NCAA tournament game is almost always Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's an actual rule or if they just kind of do see teams as solid. And so it's worst, for Arkansas, worst case scenario, you play 3 games in 3 days, in which case then you get 5 days before you play. It's fine. They can figure it out.
Yeah, it's a good amount of time. Kat said he feels like Florida is one of the best 4 to 6 teams in the country. I mean, they very well could be.
Yeah.
I don't know that their body.
I don't know what that is in response to. He says, nah, Florida is one of the 4. Is he saying?
Probably talking to somebody else, in the chat or whatever. But I started that just because I think they're capable of being that good. They're probably playing like one of those, top 4 to 6 teams right now. They've been really good. When's the last time they lost a game?
Auburn. I guess that would have been a month ago.
It's been a while. Yeah, their last loss was on January 24th, so literally a month tomorrow.
A month.
Yeah, they've won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in a row. Yeah, they've been playing really well, rounding into form. That front court's really good. The back court is playing better. If something's going to get them, it's going to be the guard play or probably some really poor shooting or whatever. But those guys are playing well. I think they're good, and that's another reason why I kind of went with the. I think they would be higher than that 2.5 when it comes to seed, because they're probably going to win the SEC here. They might win it by multiple games, and I just have a hard time feeling like the committee is going to see that. And it's the reigning champs, whether you feel like you should, account for that or not. Everybody knows that. They're not going to put the best team in the SEC as a damn 3 seed. I fail to believe that'll be the case. I think they will get at least a 2. Let's see. What else do we have here? Fishman asked, Why does a 6 seed get an easier path, I guess, than a 4 or a 5? It's the reason why mathematically people would say that's not the case is because like you play an 11 seed, which is better than a 12, which is what you would, play if it was a 5, but then a 6 would have to play a 3 seed to move on. Some people prefer to do that. You might have to play a 3 and a 2, but it keeps you from having to play a number 1 seed in the Sweet 16. If you're in a 4 or 5 game, that's usually going to be your path unless they get upset. The 1 seeds seem to be quite a bit stronger than the 2s, although it's kind of starting to even out just a little bit there. If you're, who do you really like? Oh my God, we have to avoid them. That's a 1 seed right now.
Just Duke.
Yeah. Michigan for the matchup problems that they pose to people at that front court, but the rest of them are kind of not bad teams by any means, but more gettable maybe than years past.
Yeah, when it depends on the 2 seed too. Like if you get Florida, if Florida ends up being a 2 seed and that's the team you're facing in the Sweet 16, that's not great. But if you're playing, I don't know, maybe Purdue, who is good, but like that wouldn't scare me to my core or anything like that.
Right. Yeah, like would you rather? So if you wind up getting a 6 seed, you say you beat an 11 seed and then you get Nebraska and then Purdue, would be your next 2 games there, as opposed to you beat a 12 seed and then you've got to play Michigan State and then Duke. I would not want that. That's probably
plus those other teams that are going to be 4 seeds. I mean, even the teams in the SEC. We just played Bama, and I know Arkansas fans think they would, beat Bama on a neutral floor. I think they would, but it's like that to me is just as hard as playing Houston.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. STL Razor says Texas will be a 7. I saw him follow up a little bit after that and said, wait until they beat Florida.
Well, if they beat Florida, then very different conversation for sure.
Yeah, they would need to do that. That's pretty high.
What did that bracket matrix thing? Did it have him like at a 10?
They are, second 10 seed right now.
That's kind of where I think they'll probably end up, is probably right around 10.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Beating Florida would help. That's the trump card that anybody can play the rest of the way here. If you've got Florida on your schedule and you beat them, you're going to bump up a line from where you think you are. So, nasty work there. Florida's playing really well.
I'm telling you, I'm saying it now. Arkansas beats Florida, that 3 seed is coming. And that's what because then you want to talk about the logic of 6 versus 4 or 5. 3 is the real prime one.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. We got a few more here. OKC Hog, appreciate you. Been a member for 4 months. It's awesome, man. Says, rest A-Cuff in the SEC tournament so we can make a deep run with A-Cuff in March. I would never forget the Bama game. We got screwed over worse than the Creighton game. The Bama game was frustrating. I'm not resting anybody in the SEC tournament, man. It's postseason. I get what you're saying. If that doesn't mean you have to play him 40 minutes 3 days in a row. You know what I mean? But there's also something to be said for just not playing basketball for, like you mentioned earlier, for 2 weeks before you play a tournament game. There's probably a balance to be had there, frankly.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, it's hard as a competitor. I know we as fans can turn it on and turn it off and just kind of say, oh, this one's really important, this one's not. As a competitor, if you're getting ready to do something, the best way to get ready for it is to do it. So you're getting ready to play a basketball game that's going to determine your entire life. The best way to get ready for that is to do that. The SEC tournament, not only is it not that daunting of a thing, because you can go out there and play 26 minutes. You don't have to be getting downhill every play. It's also like the best possible reps you can get to prepare for exactly what it's going to be like in the NCAA tournament. I think telling your best player, hey, just stop being a competitor for like 14 days and then we're going to take you out of the ice bath and we're going to, throw you right out there. That's not really how things work in the real world.
Sure. Yeah. And I understand the premise of what you're saying of like, can we please get this dude to 100% because Arkansas wants to see him out there, functioning fully. I get that. But I mean, Cal couldn't even talk Acuff into sitting this Mizzou game over the weekend. You think he's going to set out in the SEC tournament? He's got a chance to go get some hardware? No way. Ain't no way. Quinn says, no, you shouldn't skip it. It's a chance to win a championship. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And I know the goals are larger than that, right? If you're a top 5 seed in the NCAA, like you got your eyes set on bigger things there. But I know Cal has said in the past, he doesn't care about the SEC tournament or whatever it is. I care. Like, I won't be heartbroken if they don't win it, but to me, yeah, it's a chance to win a championship. You know what I mean? I've been at that tournament several times, and you go there and you're battling against the teams that you've been competing against, all season long. And when you play that game on Saturday or on Sunday, the celebrations, you would feel like they just won a championship. I've seen bigger celebrations for teams who have won that SEC tournament than teams who have won like a regional final to move on. Like it means something. It really does. And I don't feel like it has to. Being really good in your conference tournament doesn't have to inhibit you from making a run in March Madness. Yeah. Didn't that just happen last year? Who won the SEC
literally
tournament
just
last
happened.
year? Was it Florida or Auburn?
Florida won the tournament.
Okay.
But yeah, and then both went to the Final Four. But yeah, you're 100% right that I think people view it through this like either or. And obviously, if you could choose one, you'd rather win the NCAA tournament. Like, there's no doubt about that. I just don't think there's a strong correlation. I know there are examples of teams, certainly, who have won their conference tournament and then not played well in the NCAA tournament. But there's also, NC State a few years ago won the ACC tournament, then they go to the Final Four as an 11 seed. It's like there's also something to be said for getting a rhythm as a team, which a lot of these teams do in the conference tournament. There's ways to go about it. Like you said, there's a balance to be had for sure.
Yeah. Quinn says if Katz wants injuries to be a factor, then the committee shouldn't count the Bama game against Auburn. And I guess they said that they're just not doing anything about that, the Bediako deal, which he's trying to come back and play anyway. So he's still on that, by the way. But I know, like, I remember Bucky McMillan was talking about that, like, how are you going to make it right for us? And he was more looking at it from a standpoint of, well, now nobody else in the league has to see him, and we did. Not so much, this shouldn't count against us or whatever. That's a weird situation, weird deal. You can't, if you're not going to have any of those guys back, they're not going to give you any credit for it when it comes to your seeding. You know what I mean? Like, I think it would be one thing if you had a guy injured and he came back and he was playing the last 2 weeks of the season, you turned it on or whatever, you might have more of a conversation. But all those guys have been out like all of SEC play. So the Kentucky, they've got their identity now. Like, they have their team now, and that's been the group that they've rode with the majority of the year at this point. Like, how many games did Lowe play in? And I hate it for him, but I know he got hurt in like their blue-white game or something, and he was kind of in and out there. Cam Williams played most of non-conference. Was it? I can't remember who he was playing. I think it was an SEC game where he wound up hurting his foot. But yeah, those guys have all been out for weeks and weeks at this point. So I don't know that it's going to change any seeding or anything like that. Yeah, I don't think it's a loser mentality, Quinn, so much as like not caring about the SEC tournament as much as, hey, let's have the best guard in the country 100% going into March Madness. I'm with you though, that I think I might care more about doing something cool in Nashville than most. Like, I understand where he's coming from, but
people also view it like it's a health bar, and it's like you've got this full health bar, and it's like even when you play a game, it goes down. And so if you play in the SEC tournament, it's going to go down. You know what also can affect your health bar? Sitting on your ass can affect your health bar. Like, that doesn't get you in great game shape. That doesn't prepare you. So that's why we always say there is a balance. I also, real quick, before we get out of here, before you kick me out, I just wanted to address his comment. I want to defend Quinn here for a second, because he says Auburn is the perfect example of why the SEC tournament can do nothing but make your players more tired. That's not how last year played out. Auburn went to the Final Four. Now, they didn't win the national title, but they literally, the week after they went to the SEC title game, they won their 2 games. Then they won their next 2 games. And then 3 weeks later, lost in the Final Four. It wasn't like this thing where, they ran out of gas because they played in the SEC tournament. that is just not an accurate reflection of what happened last year.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. I don't have anything to add to that. That's true. Yeah, I don't know. They got really popped in the first round. Maybe you could point to that, but they also had the double bye. You know, they didn't even have to start playing until Friday. So they were coming off of nearly a week of rest, 6 days before they even had to play a game at the SEC tournament. And then they had several days off after that. I don't know.
There are, you can start, and listen, you can always get guys injured. You know, things can always happen, but it's very rare that you're playing in the NCAA tournament and something that happened a week ago is like really in that moment affecting you. And if it is, it's usually very minuscule.
Yeah, no,
unless you got punched in the throat and you've got a laceration or something, you know what I mean?
Sure. yeah, exactly.
In which case, it's probably going to affect you a little bit. But yeah, just playing a game is really not that detrimental to these young men, believe it or not.
Is Darren Peterson getting ready to beat Houston?
Kansas is the most volatile team, man. Especially among these like really good teams because they just have bizarre results all over the board, man.
40-0 in Big Monday games at home under the Bill Self regime. Peterson's only got 8 points. He's 3 of 10 from the field, but they're winning.
Huh.
Interesting. Anyway, I'm done here. Are you done here?
I am done, man. It's time for Monday Night Raw, man. I've said all I can say, but I appreciate you having me on. As always, let me talk some ball. I'm glad the resume show didn't turn into a disaster. I really was a little bit worried that I was just going to look like a moron.
You cemented yourself as a ball knower is what you did. That was good stuff, man. Yeah.
I like that. Pressure makes diamonds, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, appreciate everybody for tuning in as always. And the fun is just around the corner, man. We're ramping this thing up. It's going to be exciting these next couple of weeks.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Appreciate you guys for hanging out with us and being lively in the chat. That's good stuff. Make sure you join us next Monday. And until then, enjoy some really good SEC hoops. For Andrew Ellis, I'm Curtis Wilkerson. This has been Inside SEC Basketball Live, and we will catch you guys next week. Everybody have a good one.